it play and call it work.
Hey there, gamers. Josh and Lee back to bring you this week's Sit and Talk, our show where you submit questions. We do the best to give you some answers. So before we get started, reminder that next week is going to be Quirk. So if you have any questions for him, leave them in the comment section of this video on the MiniWarGaming website, because the YouTube comments will be disabled. And address him in a way that he will be able to know that you are talking to him specifically. So call him Quirk, Quark, Beverly, the Bevs, Q-Fed, any of the variety of different things that he's known as. Yeah, and then ask whatever questions you want of him. But we're going to jump right into this and just get to answering questions. The intention, we wanted to film this earlier in the week, and it just didn't happen. So, hey, if you get your questions in late, you're still probably going to get them answered. But let's start off with Zergalurgadurg. Hey, Beardy Bro and Vestimus Maximus.
Yeah.
Nice. First, what is your favorite moment battle from the 40k, 30k lore? So, Lee, take it away. What's your favorite moment or battle from the lore there?
I think it's in one of the books you've read. I haven't even read it. It's the whole fire.
Yep.
With Dorn.
Very good scene from Praetorian of Dorn. That was it's a pretty good scene.
I have to read that book.
You know what? I'm trying to think. For me, like, I got a lot of stuff, and I'll float around between different stuff that's probably my favorite at any given time. But most of the time, including right now, it is the scene in Titanicus by Dan Abnett, and the first time one of the Legio Invicta warlords engages the enemy in the city. And that's probably one of my favorite scenes. Very well written and just kind of cool. Abnett's got a very good way of keeping things, like the spectacularness of 40k. He does a good job of having somebody there to, show you exactly how fantastical it is, if that makes sense. It keeps it grounded somehow, even though it's this crazy sci-fi universe. So that's probably my favorite scene. Second, if you have any vehicle from 30k, 40k in real life, what would it be and why? So any vehicle from 30k or 40k.
Assuming we have the fuel for it?
I guess so, assuming you have the capability to make it go.
I'd probably go Viper.
A Viper?
Yeah.
Why a Viper?
Because it's a jet bike, but it's enclosed.
Oh, you'd want to be enclosed?
Yeah, so I can ride it in the rain. Durr.
Just ride faster than the rain. Yeah, just go really fast. You won't get wet.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, if I could have anything, because you think in terms of practicality. You know the little Imperial Guard centaurs? The artillery tractors? Like, it can carry like 4 guys or something? They're adorable. That probably would be my one. Here, I'm going to bring up a picture. This is the advantage that I just do it right on my laptop, so, I can show Lee pictures as we're going along. I can't show you guys at home. But okay, so everybody at home, look up what an Imperial Guard centaur is. One of these little fellas. Wouldn't that be fun to boot around in? Like a little mini tank. It's like the 40k equivalent of a universal carrier from World War II. I think that would be fun. And we got a bonus question. If you could have any monster from AOS or 40k as a pet, what would it be? This assumes it won't eat you or the neighbors. As in, like, it refuses to eat the neighbors? Or we can tell it not to and it'll listen. Because that's two different things. But what would you have for any monster from Age of Sigmar or 40k?
I'm not sure.
No, there's just not one kind of iconic, like, I want one of these.
No.
I would be back and forth between either a Stonehorn or a... it's still probably just the Stonehorn. I was going to say maybe a Thundertusk. because they're perpetually cold, and I'd rather be cold than warm. So there is that. But I don't know. The Stonehorn just seems like it'd be fun. Be like a big, dumb, super destructive puppy. That's what I want. I would love it. Yeah. So mine would be a Stonehorn for sure.
Mine would probably
adorable.
be something that could fly.
Something that could fly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like anything that
So I
can
could just fly away from you and your stupid Stonehorn.
anything that could jump can like technically fly for a second. Like we're talking like extended flight. What if it just glides? Would you accept something that glides?
Yeah.
Okay.
It has wings.
Like some giant Age of Sigmar sugar glider?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Well, guess what? We got the endless expanses of the internet here. You've never seen a sugar glider? They're adorable. I almost got one as a pet a while ago. These things.
Oh, yeah.
It's like somebody crossed a squirrel with a kite.
With a kite?
Well, yeah, look at it. Do I need to show you that? Look at him. He's a kite.
But that's
So
not,
he doesn't properly fly. He just glides.
Yeah, I want something I can take off.
Just in the Canadian way.
Yeah.
Some Age of Sigmar level
And I haven't
Canadian goose.
seen those in Age of Sigmar or 40k, so
That makes them all the more terrifying. Sneaking up on you.
just giant flying squirrel.
Yep. That you haven't seen yet. It's hiding somewhere. All right. Next up, we got Big Mikey. In the off chance you haven't filmed already, this is the off chance. I've been busy this week. With the price of Titanicus starter leaked, does this deter you or anyone you know from getting the game? Or in general, do you think the game will sell for the first few months then die off once everyone can say they own a Warlord? Okay, it's not a cheap game, but I mean, like, anything Games Workshop's not a cheap game, so I think if you're going to get into any game properly from Games Workshop, it's going to be expensive. Sure, the big starter box that gives you the rule book, 2 Warlords, 6 Knights, excuse me, and terrain and all that, it's going to be an expensive box. It's perhaps a touch more than I thought it was going to be, but nothing outlandish. Like, you got to realize, if you've looked at the pictures, these Titans aren't small. It's not like the little ones from the original release, the Adeptus Titanicus ones, where you got 6 Warlords, I think, in that box, and they were wee. Like, these things are 10 times the size of those. Like, there's a substantial difference. Do I think that will, that perceived cost of entry will turn a lot of people off? Probably. But it's the same, like, obviously, because I think the Titanicus box is like $300 or something like that. Like, it's not cheap. It might be a little bit more. If I go out and buy a start collecting for $100, it's a great value, but it's not like I can start playing 40k with it.
No, you don't get any rules or anything.
No, you still got to get the book and everything else. But yeah, it's definitely going to be one of those games that it's going to be expensive to get into. And especially, I think it's going to be a tough sell in the sense that it's such a different scale from what people are used to. But it has not deterred me at all. Like, I was prepared to spend a bunch of money to get into this. And for what you get in that box, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's basically 2 armies. I mean, you can play with a Warlord and 3 Knights.
Yeah.
So if you get someone to go halfsies with you, then yeah,
it's a pretty good way to start. And I mean, we really haven't seen too much for point levels and things like that. But from the little bit of snooping around I've done on the internet, it would seem as though you're not gonna need much more than, like, if you buy the box just for yourself and keep it, like 2 Warlords is the majority of your army probably anyways. So you wouldn't need much more. So yeah, whether you split with a buddy and you each take a Warlord and one of the little groups of Knights, and then you buy some of the Reavers and the Warhounds when they come out, or you keep it for yourself and maybe add a little bit on still, it's not going to be that bad. And they're impressive. They're really cool looking kits from the pictures I've seen, so I'm pretty happy about that. I hope people will keep the game going. It's one where they can only have so much coming out all the time. Like, there's only so many different Titans. So unless they get into doing non-Imperial Titans, it might be the longevity of the game might hurt a little bit there, because I think a lot of the people that consume Games Workshop product need something constantly new. Even if it's not something new for their army, as long as they keep, people keep talking about it. So, I don't play orcs or space wolves or whatever. I think those are the two main ones that are still waiting for their own book. But hearing, talk about what's going to come out for them keeps me interested in 40K, thus keeps me interested in my own army.
Yep.
So I don't know. It's going to be a toughie. I really hope that Titanicus is a game that people scoop up and play because it looks super cool to me. That being said, it's probably one of my favorite parts of 40K is Titans, and I like games that aren't skirmish scale. 28 mil is fun, but I get bored of that quicker than other scales. Next, we got Providus. Josh, Lee, any thoughts on the 30K FAQ? I could probably start talking about this one. I think the main things for me is they cleared up the whole Kerr's hit and run because there was such poor wording before that the interpretation by most is that his armor gave him hit and run, but the way they had it worded make it sound like maybe that was only on the turn he charged, which is goofy. So they cleared that up, and then they got rid of sniper veterans is the other big one for me. Obviously, there's a number of other changes, but I think that will shift the meta of 30K quite a bit because whenever you have a game and there's one obvious choice most of the time, in almost every situation, like you wanted to just take sniper vets, that's bad game design. That doesn't work. That's boring. So I've played one game. It hasn't went out yet, because we don't have a ton of 30K people coming in, but we played it on the day that the FAQ hit. We played with the new FAQ rules, and yeah, we both had armies that had vets in it, and we're like, well, let's just change the veteran tactic and play it anyways, and I will say I had more fun. So for the 30K FAQ, those are the big ones for me. They most of the rest of the FAQ, my understanding, is that they didn't change a ton necessarily. Like I think Steve's Iron Warriors got changed a bit, but overall I think the feel was they were clarifying things more than anything else. But what do you think, Lee? Any thoughts on the 30K FAQ?
Well, they changed. They tidied up the way drop pods work, which I thought was a good thing. And which actually got me looking into getting drop pods for my Blood Angels. Which means I need 11 drop pods.
Attaboy. 11 now drop pods or dread claws?
Well, I need 8 dread claws and 3 deathwinds.
Okay. Notice the use of the word need.
I need.
Not want.
No, I
he
need.
needs.
I need. For it to be a functional army.
Yeah.
But then again, I play Blood Angels that really don't have rules yet. So
hopefully soon.
Yep.
Okay, and then also Lee, any tips for convincing a cat that your models and paints don't look their best when they're scattered across the floor?
Yeah, train your cat. My cat's trained to stay off the table. So, yeah.
Alternatively, get a dog instead.
Yeah. Now, training cats is pretty easy. I mean, it depends on how old it is, though.
That's fair.
But yeah, I read that question earlier. I was like, train your cat. Get a water pistol. Every time it goes up on the table, just it'll stop. Trust me, it'll stop.
So what's the difference between training and conditioning? Is there any difference in it?
No.
I don't think so.
Training sounds better.
It does. So, yeah. Sounds like they're getting a treat for being good instead of getting sprayed for being bad. But yeah. It's the same difference.
It's the same thing.
Now we got Tharax. Josh, how come nearly all of your bat reps as of late have been using open war cards? A few here and there, but for some makes for some really wonky games to watch. I'm sure they were fun to film, but yeah. Just a coincidence, you guys are going to focus more on them, and if so, why? So I just kind of felt like it. Much with many of the decisions that are made here at MiniWarGaming, a lot of it comes down to what we're interested in doing at the time. Because obviously, I mean, like, it's always in the back of our mind. We want to produce good content that people enjoy. But yeah, if we're doing something, it's because we kind of feel like doing it. I tried them because I had been getting bored of the missions out of the rulebook and chapter approved, and I had a lot of fun. And I tried a couple more and kept having fun. So I'll basically keep doing them till I kind of get bored of them and I feel like trying something else. obviously, and the viewer response has been pretty good. It typically is allowing me to play armies that I like to play in kind of weird, wonky ways that are making for fun scenarios anyways, regardless of what my opponent brings. So, yeah, overall, I don't know, because I'm just goofing off and having fun with them, and the guests seem to be having fun. For the most part, the viewers seem to be having fun. So, can't find a good reason not to use the open war cards, and I'll keep doing it until I find a good reason not to. That reason can be as simple as my guest goes, I kind of feel like playing something else, and I go, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that's all. There's not officially any focus or not focus or anything like that. I'm personally interested in them, so that's why. Lee, can't wait to see your epic table getting played on when it's done. Looks so cool.
Thank you. I sounded really unenthused by it right there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Now we got Drake Steele. Josh and Lee, looking at the Chaos Space Marine Legion traits and seeing how the Alpha Legion trait is so blatantly better than all the others, what do you think G-Dub could do to bring the other Legion traits up to par? Remove the debuff cap for Night Lord's Terror Tactics, remove the hit penalty for advancing and shooting rapid fires Black Legion, replace the Word Bearers, reroll morale test traits with something better. Honestly, okay, so
I can get my answer out of the way.
okay, you want to get yours out of the way while I formulate mine?
Yeah, I don't play 8th edition, so go, Josh.
All right. So here's what I kind of think we're at. You look at, like, it was an earlier book. I would assume that, because I got no idea how Games Workshop works. Maybe they wrote every single codex at the same time and then released them one at a time. Maybe they've been written in the order they've been released. I don't know. What it feels like to me is that, this was one of the earlier books. I feel like a lot of it, because it came out right at the same time that the Space Marine one did, they were within a couple weeks of each other. It feels like a lot of copy and paste, because a good chunk of it is. So I think there's going to be something to make Marines and Chaos Space Marines a little bit just better, because they're probably the most iconic thing about 40k Space Marines. And so if that's the baseline for your game, all of a sudden these super fantastic super soldiers, if that's the average thing that you're comparing everything else to, they're going to seem lackluster and boring.
Yep.
So, I don't envy the folks that try to write these codexes, because it's tough to make them, I imagine it'd be tough to make them feel special. I look at the Death Watch book, I'm very happy with that book. I think it's cool and it feels right, and they're still, 3-up Marines. Space Wolves should be hitting soonish, I assume. Like, there's only so many more books they got to do. So I hope that might be in the same vein. I don't really know, though, because if you look at the Space Marine chapters out of the Space Marine book and the Legions out of the Chaos book, they just kind of feel boring.
What do the Alpha Legion do?
So the Alpha Legion, it's -1 to be hit if you're more than 12 inches away. It's that army, which is a very powerful ability in 8th edition, where modifiers are such a big deal.
Yeah.
So that one, yeah, if you want to play more competitively, Alpha Legion's way up there, and they also have one of the best stratagems. It's that you get that kind of weird infiltrate thing before the first turn starts, but after you roll to see who goes first and sees the initiative.
Yeah.
So you can really set up for some pretty cool combos. I don't know what they got to do for power level, because I don't really buy into that a whole lot. You could take the lowest tier army in the game and beat the highest tier army if you're a solid player. Like, if you're in a competitive setting, obviously it's different, but in a casual fun setting, it shouldn't make that big of a difference. I think my biggest gripe about them is that just the Legion traits feel boring. The Night Lords has a relatively unique one. It's not that powerful, but it just feels boring. So when I look at stuff, and I don't know, people might agree, they might disagree with me. If you look at the Imperial Guard book and the different regiment traits, those all feel really different and kind of unique and sort of fun.
Well, they seem to fit.
They do, and they just it changes the play style up enough that it just There's something there, and I don't know what it is, but it just feels cooler. You know what I mean? They feel more separate, distinct, and yeah. So I don't know. I think it almost, if they came out with a new Chaos Space Marine book, I don't think that would be a terrible idea. Though as it stands now, I find them boring. But who knows? I look part of it too, because the Chaos Legion book at the end of the Traitor Legion book, rather, at the end of 7th edition, felt really, really cool. The armies felt unique and cool. And then I feel like we've lost that in 8th edition. So, I don't know. Maybe it's time for a Legion book. Maybe it's time for just something else, a little extra pizzazz. Because as it stands right now, the traits don't differentiate them enough to make them feel interesting or unique or cool. To me, anyways. All right, Chosen One. Josh, Lee, you guys going to cover Kill Team? Maybe. Like I talked earlier about my Bat Reps, the open war cards. Nobody was really super excited for Kill Team. Nobody wanted to drop the projects that they're working on right now to do Kill Team. So, from a content perspective, like if somebody's interested in doing it, like I'll obviously push and promote that. But as it stands right now, I don't think we feel the need to force somebody to go play Kill Team.
No.
I'm sure that we could do it. It would be semi-successful, but it would probably come across that we're forcing somebody to play something that they might still kind of like, but they're not super excited for. So we tend to produce the best stuff when we're sticking with the things that we're excited to play.
Yeah, because it kind of feels like another skirmish game.
They're such a dime a dozen, and like I look right now, and the idea of Kill Team is super cool. It's not like I'd have to go get new miniatures or anything else like that. It's not like it would take me more than probably half an hour to read the rulebook and figure it all out. I just am of the mindset right now, if I want to play a skirmish game, I'll probably just go play Wild West Exodus instead.
Yeah.
It's something that's more interesting for me right now. So yeah, that's kind of a roundabout answer, but that's kind of a little bit of insight. But I'm obviously not speaking on behalf of everybody in the company, because who knows? Maybe somebody will get really interested. Maybe Luca will randomly go play a game of it down at his local game store, get super excited and decide he wants to cover it, and then bam, we have Kill Team coverage. I can't say. Either way, have you got any experience with the game? No, nothing at all. Me personally, I know Dave did the unboxing. A couple of the guys have read the rules for it and all that, but hasn't gotten much further. Looks awesome. Sure. You know what I mean? Not saying it doesn't look awesome. It's just one that it's just not the genre of game I'm interested in right now, I guess. I just haven't got enough money to afford a rulebook yet. Which factions are you interested in, assuming you are? So I would, I don't know, like I'd probably just play my Death Watch or something. Or Stormtroopers would be fun. That would be kind of cool to do a little kill team of, because I don't use the Games Workshop Stormtroopers. I use the Eisenkern, which I think look super cool. So yeah, if I were to play, probably Death Watch or Stormtroopers would be my two go-tos. Anything like, if you were going to make a kill team, let's say hypothetically, Lee, you got super interested in kill team for whatever reason. What kill team do you think you would gravitate towards? What race or whatever do you think you'd build for fun conversions or something? Anything?
No, not really. It's a boring answer, but no.
That's an honest answer.
Me.
Also, seriously, Quirk was alone in a building at night, hopped up on caffeine. How come no one sneaked into MiniWarGaming headquarters and started randomly slamming doors and whistling 80s pop hits on the 24-hour live stream? It's the ghost scenario pranksters live for. Professionalism be dimmed. Was it supposed to be damned?
Probably.
Of course. For glory and nap time, chosen one. Honestly, I didn't mess with Quirk's live stream a whole lot because I was on it for a good chunk of time last time. I was tired.
Yeah, I just went home.
I went home and fell asleep right away.
Yeah.
I hung out for a little bit. I went home, did some chores, hung out with the wife, and just kind of then went to bed.
Yeah. Just a regular old day for me. From what I heard, he was messed with quite enough. So.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Guys hiding his models and stuff, just like.
Yeah.
And gluing stuff together. I'm like.
But yeah, he seemed to have fun with this one. I think he knew what he was getting into, though, a little bit more. We got time for one or two more. Let's see. Nagram29 at Josh. How have you been finding the new summoning rules so far? Fair or unfair advantage over factions that don't have the option? I assume you're talking Age of Sigmar. In a 1,000-point game, I encounter people bringing in an extra 400 points-ish by the third battle round and haven't figured out a way to overcome it. Still early, though. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure what army you play, so I can't speak to it that much. I haven't played like a ton. I've played enough Age of Sigmar in the 2nd edition, but not like a ton to be really well-versed in it. The only army that I kind of know half-decent right now is still probably just the Beastclaw Raiders. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I've noticed is, like, okay, so the Beastclaws are a pretty savage army, and I find them to be a very unforgiving army, especially when you have opponents that can summon in a ton of stuff. So that's where, like, I found that I definitely got to be a lot more aware of what's going on, because people can be summoning stuff all over the place. And depending on the rules for summoning, like, I'm worried about them getting onto objectives and winning the game instantly, because I can't hold them with how few models I have. Like, there's a ton of stuff going on there. And so in the games that I've played, the sentiment feels like you just got to be extra brutal.
Yeah.
Which is where, sometimes the games are going to be a blowout, because if they aren't, you're just going to lose. It's going to, they can be a very polarizing army. So I remember I played against Luca a little while ago, and we did, I think it was the relocation orb. And the only reason I won that game, because I brought Beast Claws, I brought, pretty solid Beast Claw list. Kind of the standard stuff I would bring. He was bringing a really mediocre Legion of Nagash list, and he basically tabled me except for the one character I kept hidden in the side of the board. And I only won on scenario because the relocation orb just decided it wanted to stay on my half of the board the entire game. So yeah, some of these summoning armies are super, super powerful, but I'm not well versed enough to really tell you, to give you an opinion if it severely hurts the armies that can't summon. But yeah, there's definitely less flexibility with things like, I play Fire Slayers as well every once in a blue moon. They have no capability of summoning stuff in. So you really gotta be smart with what you're doing. Not saying the summoning factions you don't have to be smart, but it's different. Okay, we'll do one last one here because this looks like a doozy. We'll see if it is. Gozbaz. Gozbos.
It's Gozbaz.
It's Gozbaz?
Yeah.
The attack helicopter? Hi, Josh and Lee. At Josh, in your last sit and talk, you spoke about how you miss Force Org charts in 40k. In his own sit and talk, Lucas said that he likes to see troop choices on the board, which is exactly why the Force Org chart was created when 3rd edition came out, to make lists built more like proper military forces. Would you like to see these kind of restrictions make a comeback, even if only in match play? How about a 3rd edition style bat rep and 8th with lists made using the Force Org chart? Perhaps a good old cleanse mission with victory points for table quarters. Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so the thing is, I reminisce about the good old times when I was playing in 3rd and 4th edition. That's when I was that's probably when I was most active before working here when it comes to 40k. The game's kind of just too big and too bloated, and it's easy to innovate and come up with new stuff, but it's a lot tougher to go back and take things away. I think certain armies could do well under this sort of a setup. I think all of a sudden it makes like certain Space Marine armies, ironically enough, probably a lot scarier, because I think they would fit that mold pretty well. But if anything, The game's moved past it. I wouldn't go back to doing it the old way because it just doesn't work anymore. You know, you can't just take a bunch of stuff away. I probably wouldn't do it on camera, but I think I would go for a 3rd edition game. Like, if I still got my 3rd edition rulebooks and stuff, and if the situation arose where, you know, I had the time to do a game and there was somebody that, you know, wanted to play a 3rd edition game, I might do it for fun. Just to see if the nostalgia holds up. But, yeah, I don't mind the current army building structure for 8th edition. It's not that bad. My big issue is when it gets overly gamey for stuff. I never mind, you know, especially when people are playing one faction. Usually it's tough to cheese out bad on that. Or when people create an army, because I think the way you can build armies right now allows you to take some really narratively unique choices. But when people are messing around with the force org charts, with the detachments to just try to maximize stuff, that's when it gets a little bit more boring for me. It's fun every once in a while, but I get bored doing that on the regular, trying to, you know, mix as many different factions and, you know, no explanation of why these forces are fighting together or anything like that. That doesn't do anything for me. So, at Lee, I believe you used to play 40K 2nd edition. Do you remember the change to 3rd edition and how it affected the way people collected models and built their armies?
Yeah, I remember the change from 2nd to 3rd. People did not like it because it went from basically it was like the change from Fantasy to Age of Sigmar. It was just a completely new game.
Yep.
And I remember, like, my gaming group back home, we did not like it. But, like, what was it?
The changes in how it affected the way people collected models and built their armies.
No. People tried to make their collections fit into the new system more than... I mean, that's what it was like back home. I'm not sure what it was like here, so...
Makes sense.
And a lot of the people I played didn't start playing till after 3rd edition came out anyway. So.
Yeah, so it was like a smaller kind of gaming group all playing 2nd?
Yeah.
And you kind of begrudgingly accepted 3rd because that's what people were playing?
Yeah, we played 2nd edition for months after 3rd came out.
Yeah, I mean, like, after...
I mean, there's nothing that says you can't still play the older editions.
That's one thing I don't get about it. Like, all the internet hate. Because, you know, I still talk to people about, you know, when Games Workshop stopped officially supporting fantasy and started doing the Age of Sigmar thing. And they're like, oh, they killed it, I can't play anymore. And I'm like, why? Like, what did they do? Like, just because they're not selling anymore, people get this weird thing in their head. And it's funny because they're, you know, I talked to somebody that I know in the local meta here, and they said, oh, well, you know, they're not going to be coming up with new stuff, so the game's dead.
So you've played everything that's possible?
Well, and I remember looking at them going like, you still have your 6th edition army. You haven't bought anything new in 8 years. What do you mean because they're not coming up with new stuff that they've said, we're not going to do anything new, that you immediately can't play anymore? I really don't understand that. I understand the fact that, you know, the general wargaming population will follow whatever game's being officially supported. So sure, you might have people that, you know, they stop buying into fantasy because they're like, you know what, Age of Sigmar is the next thing. It's what people are playing. It's trendy. Let's play that.
Yeah.
But I don't get the people like.
Yeah, it's like you see videos of people just burning their armies. I was like, that's money.
I don't get it. Like, I can tell you like nobody came and stole my stuff. No. Like I can go walk and pick up my Ogre Kingdom's army. It's still there.
Yeah.
Nobody took anything. They didn't send Games Workshop executives down to like smash the models and burn my books.
Yeah, I mean, how long did we cover fantasy after it quit?
Until we got bored of it. You know what I mean?
And people are still pushing for it, so.
Well, because obviously there's still people out there. So yeah, I don't get the people that freaked out right away. Like, nobody said you can't keep playing the game. Like I say this like I'm being honest because I understand the mindset of, well, you know what? It's the end of an era, and I want to stick up with the new stuff, and I want to play what other people are, what the majority of other people are playing. But if you had a gaming group before, you still have a gaming group after, unless they all decide to switch, which is kind of random and weird. But I legitimately don't get it.
No, me neither.
The same with, let's talk about another game that was. I know we got off on a tangent, but whatever. If you're new here, this is what we do.
Pretty
If
much.
you're not new here, this is what we do.
And welcome.
Yes, hello, or welcome back. Blood Bowl. So before the re-release of Blood Bowl, guess what? Lee and I still play Blood Bowl.
Yeah.
You take the miniatures, you get your rules. Like, I look at it, and fantasy, okay, so I didn't love 8th edition fantasy, I'll be honest. The way that the Magic phase and some other stuff worked, it wasn't the best edition of fantasy in my opinion. Wasn't my favorite. But I almost look at it more like, sweet, I don't have to buy anything new.
Yeah.
They're not going to change my army and invalidate a bunch of the old stuff, and I'm going to have to go buy new stuff if I want to stay current.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. So that's where we're going to leave this one. Where Lee and I are going to go ahead and jump into the Vault. So if you're a Vault member, check out the link below. If you're not a Vault member, you can check out the link anyways. You go to a 7-day free trial of the MiniWarGaming Vault. So you'll have the second half of this video, as well as everything else we include in the Vault. So everything we do in pairs. So there's at least twice as much content there. And other than that, thanks for tuning in. Keep being awesome. And as always, happy wargaming.